There we go. That's better. That's a lot better. Anyway, welcome to another edition of DylanLasagna Live. It's your boy, as always, DylanLasagna. And as I was saying, because my mic wasn't picking up apparently, it's No Hat Friday, No Visor Friday, Let My Hair Loose Friday. Because, again, hot as hell here in California. I think it's like 90 degrees, almost 100. Like, good lord, man. It's hot. It's very hot. So, we got a lot to talk about here on this podcast today. We started a little early, about 20 minutes early. No, like 15 minutes early, to be exact. Because I have some things I have to take care of after the show. So I have some important things I have to take care of after the show, and I just have to get started like right away. So with that being said, as always, if you're not already, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. What are you waiting for? If you're not already, make sure you subscribe. Turn on the notification bell, so you make sure you know when I'm live, and make sure you press the like button and comment on the replays, and yeah, do all the fancy stuff. And if you want to follow me on social media, you see all the handle on the right side of your screen. I'm at DylanLasagna. And let's get right into it. Let's get right into things. Let's get to the swing of things, shall we? We got a couple of random tidbits this week. Finally, some random tidbits. As you guys know, I am a very big SpongeBob SquarePants fan. I love SpongeBob to death. I will never stop loving the sponge under the sea. But we got a little bit of news for us SpongeBob fans that I don't know. I question this. I really do question this. So it was announced on Monday that there's going to be a spinoff series. Yeah, there's going to be a SpongeBob spinoff series. Now, we heard about Camp Coral, that spin-off series that's going to be like a prequel kind of series to SpongeBob, like for the third film. What was it called again? Sponge on the Run, I think. And that news was not well received. And now we're getting of course. There we go. So anyway, as I was saying, as I'm still dropping frames for some reason. There we go. Much better. Anyway, minor mishap. Anyway, as I was saying, as I was rudely interrupted by a stream drop. Let me sure my stream is healthy. Yeah, it is. All right. Anyway, we got news on Monday about a new SpongeBob spin-off series based on SpongeBob's friend, Patrick Star. Yeah, the dim-witted friend of SpongeBob, the pink starfish, is getting his own show called The Patrick Star Show. Now, what is this show going to be about? Now, I would presume it was gonna be like, you know, Patrick's everyday life. Like, what does he do? What does he do when SpongeBob's not around? Now, if you see an episode of SpongeBob centered around Patrick, you know, Patrick's like lazy. He just like mostly sleeps in. He likes to eat and do a lot of like fun things. But no, he's not doing any of that here. Apparently, this is going to revolve around Patrick hosting a late night talk show. And I just don't get how this spin-off is going to last. I mean, maybe Patrick's going to ask them some very ridiculous questions, or maybe Patrick's going to like forget to ask the questions. I don't know. But I don't know. I just don't know how this is going to work. Now it's still in production. It's they're still finalizing the development of this spin-off. But I'm pessimistic. I'm very pessimistic about how this spin-off is going to go. And I just feel like that it's not going to go well. This is just not going to go well. I like Patrick. I like the character Patrick, but for him to have his own kind of show specifically in a late night talk show format, who knows? It might be funny. It might, but I just don't know. I can't judge right now, because I haven't seen the show yet, but I just don't see it doing well. I really don't see it doing that well. So that's going to be a thing. The Patrick Star Show is going to be a thing. And I don't know how the diehard SpongeBob community is reacting to it. I, unfortunately, think that it's not a good idea. Now, my second tidbit of the week is that a certain reaction YouTuber that you've all heard me talk about on the show, and he is one of the reasons that you guys have caused a stir on my channel. Not directly, but you guys have drawn comparisons from me to him. He has reached 1 million subscribers. The Beanie Boy, Charmix, has reached 1 million subscribers. So, congratulations, Charmix. After how many terminated channels, you finally got to 1 million subscribers. Even though I still disagree with the censorship, I mean, come on. People podcasters, commentators, even reaction channels are still doing stuff uncensored on YouTube. I think it's time for you to do the same. Keep in mind, you have to censor the titles and those the video titles and all that stuff. But even though I disagree with the censorship in his videos after 2018, I mean, he's built a pretty good community. It's he just doesn't react to the videos and just pause on the videos and give commentary and all that. He actually has a good personality. He actually has a cool personality. He's he tends to sometimes forget forget things, and people have to correct him on it, and that's why his community likes him. It's his fun-loving nature. But anyway, congratulations to Charmix for finally hitting 1 million subscribers. Now I just want to see his hair. Let's finally see what's under the beanie. We finally get to officially see what's under the beanie, unless if it's gonna be a trick. But who knows? Who knows? He guaranteed us he was gonna show what was under the beanie at 1 million. Now he has to live up to his word. But we shall see. We shall see what's under the beanie. But anyway, let's get into some real talking points here. Hold on 1 second. Okay, we are still good here. We are still good here. Raw Underground, as I talked about last week. Excuse me. As I talked about last week, I talked about the debut of Raw Underground. But in case you need a refresher on what I discussed about that new segment last week on Monday Night Raw. It's like WWE's take on Def Jam, Vendetta, or Fight for New York. People are just fighting. They're not wrestling. They're not wrestling in a match. They're fighting in a ropeless ring in a dirty warehouse with dim lighting. And they're just fighting each other until like one person knocks out the other. And this was hosted by Shane McMahon, and we saw like a lot of elements that you would see in Def Jam. Again, the things I just mentioned, along with dancers, a host, like a hype man. Yeah, that was Shane. And yeah, so last week when we were having these fights, we saw this Dabo Kato person, Dolph Ziggler, the Hurt Business taking over Raw Underground. And that was pretty much how it went last week. I mentioned there also last week how there weren't a lot of good things, mostly not good things, about Raw Underground. I mentioned how it still looked fake. Now, granted, WWE's supposed to be like, I mean, of course, it's still real things still happen in WWE, like the injuries and all that stuff. But the thing is, it's like if I wanted to see a shoot fight, I would just watch the UFC or play Def Jam. So with this, it's like the wrestler I mentioned last week, like the wrestlers were holding back on their punches, and not only that, is the camera angles were ruining a lot of the action. They were taking away from a lot of the action, as well as the camera angles, like making it kind of obvious that they reshot these fights a couple of times. So we get to this week. We get to this week on Raw Underground, and I gave them another chance. Like, I want to see if they improve or not. I'm not one of those smarks in the IWC that is like ready to write it off right away. Like, oh, this is a failure right away. It's like, oh, this sucks. And, like, yes, it like Raw Underground last week did fail, but you know what? I said what I thought needs to improve, and I went into seeing this week's Raw Underground with an open mind, ready to give it one more shot. And let's just say, there wasn't much that improved, like, at all from last week. Now, the only thing they got rid of was the dancers. They got rid of dancers. Now, I thought the dancers, I didn't think the dancers, needed to be there. Now, they could have kept the dancers. I wouldn't really cared less. But I believe it was, Medusa, like that was complaining on Twitter about the dancers, being there. And Liv Morgan was also on Twitter saying they need to bring back the dancers. So, back to the actual fights on Raw Underground. We saw Dabo Kato again, and he squashed some random dude by grabbing his crotch. Yeah, he actually did that. And he actually finished him off with a KO punch. But I could care less. Then we also saw Arturo Ruas, a Brazilian martial artist. And then we saw former 24/7 champion Riddick Moss. And then we saw Shayna Baszler actually get into this fight pit. And she went on to beat up 3 other women. Like at once. So that pretty much what happened on Raw Underground this week. Now, unfortunately, I'm gonna say this again. If I want to watch like a shoot fight like WWE is trying to present, I would just play Def Jam. I'd rather just play Def Jam on the PS2. I hate to say it, but there was just nothing that improved from last week. I thought WWE would have really tried to make some improvements, like lessen up on the like camera cuts, because there was one specific camera cut on Shayna Baszler's fight where she was, I think she was like she was slamming her one of her opponents to the ground, and it cut to Shane McMahon. And if you were like a casual viewer, you were thinking, wait, what happened? I didn't see what happened. So it completely takes away from what Shayna Baszler did and the impact she could have had in that match. So if WWE wanted to make it believable, you have to like have less camera cuts. They need to have less camera cuts in these segments, in these Raw Underground segments, because we want to see what's going on in the ring. Like, now you don't have to have like one like sole hard cam in these segments. You just need, like, you can have multiple camera angles, but you need to like stop going back and forth with these camera cuts, because again, it ruins the experience of what you're trying to present in a fight, in this shoot fight environment. And you know, let them fight. Let them really fight. Now, of course, there was that Brawl for All incident in, I think it was in 1999, where people actually got hurt doing this and they had no experience. You gotta have that balance. You gotta have that balance between like actual fighting and then of course your fake fighting. You gotta have that 50-50. The only person I can see benefiting from this is Shayna Baszler, because you know her MMA background, and she actually fought in MMA. I don't know about UFC, but I know MMA. But she could definitely help with this segment, like because she actually was an actual fighter. But then other than that, there's not really much else to Raw Underground that I could see working for it, because again, I'm gonna ask again, who other than Shayna Baszler possibly, who's gonna benefit the most? Who's gonna benefit the most from this this segment? Why is this segment saying, like, how did it come together? What's the end goal for Raw Underground? Like, who's gonna get like a push in the end? Who's gonna be a star out of this Raw Underground thing? So far, WWE hasn't answered that yet. WWE really hasn't answered it. So I just I can't see like this segment lasting. Who knows how long? Maybe till the end of the month, and then they'll scrap it. I don't know. I really don't know. But that's Raw Underground. Not really much to it. It's just they're holding back their punches. Too much camera cuts again. And there's no like backstory to it. There's no who, what, where, and why. Like, why are they doing this is the most important thing. Why are they putting on fake, or like not fake fights, but shoot fights? And what's the end goal for it is what I want to know. But I don't know. I guess WWE just put Raw Underground in there, as a way to get the ratings back up, but it's not working. But what is working, however, is Randy Orton. Randy Orton is working, and let me tell you why. This week on Raw, Randy Orton defeated Kevin Owens, but how we got to Kevin Owens was because of Ric Flair. Ric Flair last week was convinced by Kevin Owens to have a match against Randy Orton. So Randy Orton defeated Kevin Owens on Raw Monday, and then they cut to commercial because Randy Orton wanted to have Rick stick around. And after commercial break, Randy cut a promo. And in this promo, he started things off by saying that he can't be mad at Ric Flair for setting up his match with Kevin Owens. He then went on to praise Ric Flair for helping him get his young 22-year-old dumbass self out of trouble in a specific incident in 2002. So he thanked them for that. He then went on to say that although he had respect for Flair from then on, he doesn't respect and love him now because he sees him as a liability standing in his way to accomplish everything right now, including winning the WWE Championship against Drew McIntyre at SummerSlam. Randy then went on to claim that Flair took him under his wing because he thought he could be the son he wished he could have had. And then Randy Orton went on to go into a deeper, darker path by trying to make Ric Flair get emotional, make him cry, and he went on to call him names like a washed up old ass junkie that's worried about himself. So Ric Flair calmly took the mic from Randy, and that's when Rick, styling and profiling, put on another good promo by first debunking that the old Rick from 2002 is not there anymore. He also went on to say that he likes being on Raw with Randy, even at his age, 71 years old. He gets calls from Hogan, from Austin, and they ask, "Oh, what's it like to be there with Randy Orton?" And he wants to be there, of course, with Randy's approval when Randy breaks his world title record. Not John Cena's record, but his record when he reaches 17. Then Rick gets emotional because Randy thinks he wants to see it. He then goes on to say that he can't get mad at Randy because he goes on to say that after a month of intensive care, he told all the people that he loved them, and that he assured that he doesn't want to take anything from Randy, especially going after the WWE Championship. He even went as far as to label himself as simply Charlotte Flair's dad. So there you go. So he then finished this promo by saying that, like, the Ric Flair, that all he is Ric Flair, and all he wanted was for him to personally see Randy Orton break his world title record. So that was Ric Flair's promo. Really good stuff there. Randy then threw out the mic, and they embraced, they hugged. Even the PC crowd was clapping. And then as soon as Flair turned around, Randy Orton low blowed him in the dick. So Randy Orton is that much of a snake. Excuse me. So Randy then put Flair on the ground, put him like stomach first, and then talked to his ear, and gave him his final blessing. He said this. It's all going to be over soon. I promise. Thank you for everything you have done for me, Rick. And then once he said that, he went into the corner. And then, as the lights were flickering and it went dark, Randy Orton punted Ric Flair in the head. And then it was all said and done from there. Ric Flair was betrayed by Randy Orton. And then Drew McIntyre came out, rushed Randy Orton out of the ring, and medical staff attended to Flair to end the show. So, even though I don't watch these Raw, the whole episode of Raw anymore, like, Randy Orton is like the MVP of this pandemic. It's like his promos, his feuds. He is carrying the WWE like in this pandemic. Especially like with his Legend Killer gimmick. He took out Edge. Even though Edge was technically injured, in storyline, he took out Edge. He took out Christian. Yes, he had that feud with the Big Show, but still, he took out the Big Show. And his promos have been really, really good. And this is coming from a wrestler that has been, okay, like, for a good portion of his career. But now you have Ric Flair, who has been accompanying him for a good month and a half, calling him the GOAT. And now all of a sudden, Randy Orton just turns on him like, he's a snake. Randy Orton's a snake. And now he goes after his beloved mentor, Ric Flair, although it's in the dark. So it's like, Randy Orton is really, like, going a deeper, darker, like, sinister path just to get his 14th WWE Championship. He is really stepping up to the plate. It's just interesting, I don't know. Like, I know Randy Orton's on a roll right now, but I just don't know if it'll be, like, worth taking the WWE title off of Drew McIntyre. Despite how red hot Randy Orton is. Because yes, there are no crowds during McIntyre's reign, but McIntyre has been very good too during this pandemic. I don't care what anyone says. It's just the creative that's been screwing him over. But who knows? Like, whether Randy wins or loses, he's still gonna be able to, like, prove he's worth a damn. like in WWE, like, he's selling it. He's really, he's selling himself. He's selling his feuds. He's gold. He is gold. But like, Ric Flair did a really good job selling his role here. He sold the importance of why he wanted to be with Randy Orton. It's just interesting to me, It's like Ric Flair all of a sudden is taken out of the picture. Like, just where are we now? Like, a week from Sunday. And I just wonder, like, this, like, I don't know if this is gonna happen, but maybe, just maybe, if it could be a setup to have Ric Flair help make, like, this was just a ruse to have, like, Randy Orton play mind games on Drew McIntyre so Ric Flair can help Randy Orton win the WWE Championship. I don't know. It's just random thinking. But either way, this was a really good segment on Raw. And, like, it's one of the few things that actually are exciting right now in WWE. So, pretty good job by everyone involved in this segment. Now we got two more things to talk about here. I saw something on Twitter on Wednesday that caused this wasn't specifically by me, but something was posted on Wednesday that caused a little upstorm. Not a very big one, but a little bit. On Wednesday's Dynamite, there were a small portion of, quote unquote fans. Now, AEW has been like allowing a select group of friends, family members, employees, friends of these etc. of the wrestlers attend these shows in the crowd. Permitted that they socially distance, wear masks, and wash their hands and get tested if they want to get in. But it was not until Wednesday's show where they were actually shown, like, prominently. So they have this camera angle. They showed the fans. JR labeled them as fans. And that's where discussion leads to. A wrestling influencer by the name of Jessie Davin. Some of you may know her. Some of you may not. I'm a little familiar with her. She does these wrestling reaction videos on Twitter, where she reacts to like certain segments of WWE and AEW. She was a invited guest on Wednesday's Dynamite, and in a series of tweets. Hold on here. No, Siri, I do not want to talk to you. In a series of tweets, let me pull up my other screen here. In a series of tweets, this is what she had to say. Let me zoom in here. Ooh, that's a lot of ad blockers. That's a lot of ads there. And anyway, so for those wondering, no, they don't allow fans. I happen to have a very non-wrestling related connection that happened to get me this opportunity. It's still closed set. So apparently she has a connection. I would say through Daly's Palace, or like one of Tony Khan's executives. I don't know. I can't assume because I don't know her connections. So either way, great opportunity for her to be on Dynamite, even during a pandemic. But I mean, she is in the Florida area apparently. So she continues this thread by saying the following: parties were grouped together and socially distanced between each group. They had it planned out beforehand because they had to know who was coming. Do not let the camera angle fool you. I felt very safe, and so did my husband. So let's take a picture. Yes, of course. So let's take a look at this camera angle. So there's the picture. Camera angle from the live show, and this was before the show. And then, as you can see, this photo was not taken before the show. This was taken at 9:33. So this was taken, I would say, around during the show, like during Dynamite. So there's that. And then someone replied, it would be better if everyone knew how to wear a mask. Unfortunately, I see wieners hanging out. What the hell? And then Jesse replied to it, they had people monitoring and correcting people's mask wearing all night. And then let's play a video because there's a mask patrol. So apparently that's the guy with the mask patrol. So there's clearly like arena security, like this mask patrol person. So there's that. And then she also had to clarify again. Groups of families were seated together. And then there's a section that was tarped off beforehand. And then mask enforcement was there correcting people's mask placement. I think she clarified that in that second tweet. She was just replying to some person that didn't get the memo. And then James Kessler, some person on Twitter, random person on Twitter said, it's maybe super irresponsible since you're pregnant that you even put yourself in danger to go to a wrestling show when you already had told us before that you are a higher risk. I'm not trying to slander you or put you down. I hope you have fun and be safe and be blessed. And then Jessie tested negative before she got in. Masks are heavily enforced as well as social distancing. Temperature checks are required via infrared scanner to get in. Sanitation stations are everywhere. Now, I want to see if there were any more... replies. If you were given the incredible opportunity to go to a closed set taping, the least you could do is be quiet about anything that may or not happen. Alright. Also, guys, please don't harass her. Just because, even though she's done so much to prove what's actual, how much they're enforcing this protocol. And clearly Reddit is getting the squared circle. Reddit is going off. I guess that's pretty much it for that. So clearly it caused a little uproar in the obviously in that Reddit, that subreddit, squared circle. Some of you may know it, and it also caused a little uproar in the Twitter community. Some people had mixed feelings. Others were, they didn't care. Normally I would have been mad, because it was how were they able to get in there? Or it's they're not social distancing, they're not wearing masks and all that. Because I think it was a couple days prior, Chris Jericho and his band Fozzy held a concert in North Dakota, where fans were not socially distancing and not wearing masks. And even though they were testing people, everyone that was, again, they weren't social distancing and they were not wearing masks. And Jericho went on to say that it was on the arena that they didn't enforce that. So, regardless, still very high risk. But in this case, with Dynamite or with Daly's Palace, people don't really have a right to get mad at AEW, Jesse Davin did a lot to prove that AEW is really enforcing these pandemic guidelines. Families, yes, they have to stay together. Why would you separate them? And yes, you have to wear a mask, which is good. There were people that enforced that. She had video evidence that there was a security officer that was enforcing that. So that was also very good. There was testing. I believe she said there was, if you wanted to do a specific COVID test, that you have the option to, but temperature checks were required, so that's good. But other than that, like, you know, I don't see that much of an issue. Yes, people do know the risks. Like, even the Jericho incident, everyone knew the risk. Yes, they had the choice of, putting themselves at high risk. And even in this situation, everyone knows the high risk here. But it's on how the venue enforces this, how they enforce these COVID guidelines, and for people to actually attack another person for showing that they got invited, and she actually went beyond her way to show that AEW is actually doing all these things to make people safe. She's just doing her due diligence. She's doing her due diligence. But let's be honest, even with the small amount of invited guests, you could barely hear their reaction. Yes, it's a small amphitheater, but you could barely hear them. You could barely hear the reactions. I just couldn't hear it. But nonetheless, I'm glad that AEW is doing this correctly. They are testing people getting in before they let people in. They're heavily enforcing social distancing and wearing masks. Something that if WWE wants to do in the near future, we're gonna get into how WWE is might have fans back, but we'll see. AEW is taking this small step, they did a good job of that on Wednesday's Dynamite. And guys, don't attack Jessie Devin, please. She has the evidence to back up your arguments. Just don't attack her. Don't personally attack her. Just don't. It's cool. No, don't insult her. Don't attack her for this small thing. For this very small thing. But anyway, on to our last piece of discussion. Let's talk about SummerSlam. It's supposedly the biggest party of the summer, but with the COVID-19 pandemic, it hasn't really felt that way. Now, it was initially supposed to be in Beantown, Boston, at the TD Garden, in the Boston Celtics arena, but the pandemic happened, and WWE had to move it to the Performance Center, or so we thought. It was reported last week by multiple wrestling outlets that WWE wanted to hold the event outside of the Performance Center, and they were finalizing plans to hold it outside of the Performance Center. But where? That was the question. They were trying to find a place where they can have it with fans, a very small amount of fans, actual fans, but they just needed to lock down a location. So we get a couple reports last week, and WWE wanted to hold it in the Northeast, specifically Atlantic City, New Jersey. These reports were further clarified by WrestleVotes on Twitter. He tweeted. They tweeted last Friday that WWE's current plans was to restart live programming beginning with the SmackDown before SummerSlam, with fans and a location still to be determined, and NXT TakeOver to still take place in Orlando. But this past Monday, Mike Johnson, a Pro Wrestling Insider, mentioned that the plans for Atlantic City were out the window, and that the event was going to be held again in Florida. Perhaps this is because the WWE couldn't find a venue, they couldn't find a place where even a small amount of fans could attend a SummerSlam. So this news about the SummerSlam location picks up like big on Wednesday, courtesy of WrestleVotes, and he quote tweets Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer, saying the following: "I hope I am not getting in your way, Dave." Now he has "am" in capital letters, and he also has "way" in capital letters. Now, it's not. You could. Let me rephrase that. There isn't much, to read between the lines there. Now, you could easily say oh, let's not take that out of context. Let's not try to think hard about what WrestleVote's trying to say there. But if you're if you know the arena as well, if you're in the Orlando area, if you know the landmarks, you kind of have an idea of where SummerSlam is gonna be. And we got our answer on yesterday and earlier today. So WrestleVotes tweeted yesterday where he stated that TV tapings after Monday's Raw will be live from the Amway Center in Orlando. As you know, if you watch the NBA, the Amway Center is home to the Orlando Magic, who even in the pandemic can't play in their arena, but they're in the playoffs. So John Alba, a reporter for Spectrum Sports 360 in Orlando, he initially debunked the report from WrestleVotes because he spoke to an arena rep who said it was closed, but he later affirmed WrestleVotes' report as well as Healed by Nature's, and said yes, it's going to be in the Amway Center. So both WrestleVotes, Alba, along with Ryan Satin, Mike Johnson, and all the other wrestling insiders, reported today that it was going to be at the Amway Center. This is not just going to be a one-time thing. It's going to be a long-term lease, and there's plans. There's going to be a lot more to it. There's going to be plans to implement a 2,500 square foot LED board. I guess I would presume around the seating area. But more on that later. Actually, we'll get into that now, actually. So, with those LED boards, they're going to do something similar to the NBA. They're going to have, actual people, via, I don't know, Skype, Zoom, Discord. I don't know how the NBA does it. But they're going to have, actual people, via different, digital outlets. And WrestleVotes clarified that applications for that virtual fan experience begin next week when they start taping, start doing live shows at the Amway Center. So if you don't believe that this is true, well, let's go to John Alba's Twitter. And as you can see in this video, that there are production trucks. There are production trucks at the Amway Center. So there it is. As you can see, there's the I think that's Aaron Gordon. There's production trucks at the Amway Center, and I don't know how you could deny this not being real. So it's pretty much confirmed that WWE is going to be back, have some sense of normalcy, going forward. So this is really good news, for WWE, and I'm actually glad, like, that they're finally out of the Performance Center. They finally get to have pyro. They get to have a locker room, a good locker room. They get to have like their normal setup, like the stage setup, the ring, the announce table, the ringside area, etc., etc. But there's just a couple things I don't agree with here. The virtual fans, I don't agree with that. I mean, it was bad enough to see the Performance Center trainees and their robotic responses. Like, you could clearly tell they were reacting to, like, in a specific manner. Not in a manner where normal wrestling fans would. It was just awkward as hell. But I mean, at least it's better than listening to a silent-ass Performance Center. I mean, by God, imagine listening to wrestling in a silent-ass arena. Oh my God. But anyway, if you see Major League Baseball on Fox or the NBA bubble games, I don't like the virtual fan experience. I don't like their presentation of it. It looks really, really awkward. It looks bad. Especially when Fox MLB does it. Let me get a picture here of how they do it, because it just looks really bad. Here, let me get... Oh, here. I'm trying to find a nice picture. I mean, this is the nicest picture I find, but yeah, here it is. So here's a picture of how Fox is doing the virtual fans, and it's very inconsistent. It's very inconsistent because they don't always use it. They don't always use it. Some stadiums will have cardboard cutouts. Other stadiums don't have any cutouts at all, which allows Fox to have the virtual fans. But the virtual fans look ugly, like, and it just it makes for a really, like, it just makes how awkward it looks. And add to the fact there's like canned cheers, boos, and all that. It just doesn't mask. It just doesn't like implement like the real fan experience of baseball or any sport. Now compare it to the NBA, NBA bubble virtual fans. They do something like this. They do this. They do this thing. This is something I would presume WWE would do. Let me open this in a new tab. This is something I would presume the WWE would do. Have like the LED board and then have fans like this. But I mean, this is something I can get behind. But I want them reacting. I want people reacting. Like, not like how the Performance Center trainees react. I want people actually reacting. So when people apply for this, I want people reacting like they normally would at a live event. Not like, being forced to react to specific, cheer for a superstar they don't like, or cheer or boo a superstar that they do like. Be real. Be real. Be authentic. Be an authentic fan. Like these NBC Sports Bay Area. Authentic fan. Like Authentic Fan Friday. But anyway, it's like with the NBA bubble, it's just like they're not doing anything. Like they're not reacting. And even if they are reacting, sometimes you can't hear it. It just gets drowned out by the sound of the players, or the sound of a dribbling basketball, or the sound of the loudspeaker when there's either music or normal sound, or the PA announcer. It's like you can't hear anything that the fans at home, virtually, you're seeing. You can't hear it in the bubble game. So I'm interested to see what WWE is going to do with virtual fans. It's all in the execution. And just because they're going back to an arena, and while I do like it, it's going to bring back a sense of normalcy, at least from an aesthetic point of view. That doesn't mean WWE's going to be better creatively. Oh no. When it comes to a creative standpoint, most of the time WWE is still in the shitter. WWE is still bad as it is. Now, granted, it's not all bad. There's still some good stuff on WWE TV. Randy Orton, Sasha Banks and Bayley, the Seth Rollins and Dominic story, Drew McIntyre, the whole thing with Bray Wyatt and Alexa Bliss. But other than that, you don't really have much else going on in between. It's like they're not doing anything. They're not pushing anyone else. And even if they do push someone else, we don't know anyone. We don't know any of these people. It's like we have to learn who these people are through video packages, or have these wrestlers tell us who these are. That's why the Dakota Kai Io Shirai feud is doing pretty decently. I don't know too much about Dakota Kai, but it's like she's giving me a good reason of why she needs and wants to win her match and the NXT Women's Championship against Io Shirai at TakeOver 30. That's also why NXT, even though they always lose in the so-called Wednesday night jack-off to AEW, at least they're doing something that AEW doesn't do on a consistent basis. Video packages. Video packages. We need to learn about who these wrestlers are. It's not always appealing to the hardcores. You need, if you want casual, want to bring in ratings, you gotta appeal to the casual audience too. You need to educate these viewers too. So enough with, even with the new arena, you gotta get rid of the 24/7 title. And I would like to see this Retribution group, from a storyline perspective. Why are they causing chaos? Why are they doing all this heinous acts? Why have they destroyed the SmackDown set? How were they able to flip a car on Monday without the help of Braun Strowman? And who are these people? Give me a reason to invest in this group called Retribution. So far, it looks to me they're like a smaller Nexus. And even Nexus, in the 2 months that they were that they looked really dominant, they were better than this group. They looked better than this group. And there's actually a lot of issues that I think is wrong with WWE. At least from a storyline and character perspective. Otis. I was into Otis. Remember when Otis won Money in the Bank? Remember when he and Mandy Rose were one of the top like power couples in WWE? I mean, granted, Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose are still have a good long-term storyline going for them, but poor Otis, man. Poor Otis. He just hasn't been doing anything lately. Especially with the Money in the Bank. I feel like he's going to lose that thing because WWE just, I don't know, just seemed to give up on him for some reason. You also have the non-existent tag team division. Now, granted, most of it has been due to injury, but even then, they don't even use the tag team division. The women's division, WWE doesn't seem to care about just as much as AEW doesn't care about its women's division outside of Bayley, Sasha Banks, and Asuka. So I guess, and Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross. So WWE doesn't care. I guess WWE still doesn't care about its women's division. And again, Raw Underground, I don't care about that either. So how many segments do I actually care about? There's, again, Randy Orton and Drew McIntyre, Sasha Banks and Bayley, Seth Rollins and Dominic, and Alexa Bliss and her involvement with Bray Wyatt and Braun Strowman. So that's like only 4 of however many segments they got on Raw and SmackDown. And this is coming from a pro wrestling fan who hasn't watched the product like in full in 2 months. That's pretty depressing. So, it doesn't matter if they're going back to an arena. They need to get it together creatively. They need to put the step on the gas pedal, the creative gas pedal, because they need. If they want to get the ratings back up, they need to test the waters with more wrestlers, promoting them via video packages, more long-term stories, less floppity flips and kicks shit. Do what you can. Do as much as you can to bring interest and, of course, less complaints from the hardcore fan base, and, bring in that interest from the casual fan base. You need to have that good 50-50 split in order to get the ratings back up. Especially with Monday Night Football coming back on your ass. Especially with the NFL coming back on your ass. And, of course, you got the NBA playoffs and the MLB playoffs. Fall sports, fall playoffs, and in the NFL is so gonna bite the WWE. It's always the fall is always the worst for WWE, and especially during this point in the year. And if WWE is just gonna be like they have been for the past several months, well, I don't know how they'll be, but we'll see. I just don't think that. It's nice that they're back in an arena, but I don't think it's going to make a difference creatively. I don't. But we'll see. But anyway, that's all I got for you this week on DylanLasagna Live. Again, I do think it's nice that WWE is back in an arena. But again, just doesn't make a difference. And again, please don't harass Jessie Davin, just because she went to an AEW show as an invited guest. Please don't. She got invited. Let her have her fun. She has her connections. So let her be. We also covered Raw Underground, the ending segment to Raw. So let me know your comments down below on each of the topics I covered today. Hopefully next week we have another show. And also, don't forget this Sunday night. Hopefully I get the time locked down. But most likely than not, Sunday night, 8 o'clock, I will be starting my new playthrough series. It's going to be a fun one, and more than likely a very chaotic one. Grand Theft Auto 3. Again, it's one of the very first games I grew up playing. Yeah, I think it was like, what was that? 2003? How old was I? 2003. Subtract that by like 17 years. So I'm 23. It's been like 5 years. Oh my god, 5 years old. I started playing GTA. Oh my god, I'm such a horrible kid. No, I think I was like in first grade. When I started playing video games. So yeah, GTA 3. when I first got exposed to that. Yeah, I'm such a bad boy. But anyway, we're gonna be revisiting GTA 3, starting this Sunday. But there is a catch. I'm gonna add a very big dose of hot sauce, big difficulty. So you'll find out more when I stream that this Sunday. But you'll get a good idea of what to expect. When the watch page goes public over the weekend. But other than that, that's all I got for you on this episode of DylanLasagna Live. Make sure to like the video or like the stream, this episode of the podcast. Make sure, if you're not already, subscribe. What are you waiting for? You're missing out on a good chunk of variety content here on the channel. And make sure you comment down below. And if you want to follow me on Instagram or Twitter, I'm at DylanLasagna. And I just hope that we get some news on some Nintendo stuff, on like some Nintendo Switch games, because Nintendo needs it, especially even during these times, especially when Sony is ready to release the PlayStation 5. Like Microsoft, yeah, it's like Nintendo could care less about Microsoft because they don't have any games. They don't have any games to release for the Series X on launch. So Microsoft is like on everyone's like burial list. It's like in the grave like at launch. So for the holiday. So it's like Nintendo doesn't need to worry about Microsoft as much as Sony, but they need to seriously reveal their plans for the rest of 2020, even if it's just 1 or 2 games, But hopefully they reveal some plans soon. But that's all I got for you today, and I hope to see you all on Sunday for a very fun stream of GTA 3. But that's all I got for you tonight. I'm DylanLasagna, and always be delicious. And I'll see you all in the next one. Take care.